yesterday, I was still pinching myself to make sure it was real. And the more I thought about it, the more I continued to compare this team to the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles and kind of how that team set a high bar for themselves, playing with the MVP, and then the guy that would have been the MVP, at least in Carson Wentz, and then him getting injured and Nick Foles coming in, and this team really not missing a beat, and then going on to win the Super Bowl. And it was like that team had expectations at the beginning of the season. They had expectations at the trade deadline because they got Jay Ajayi. They added him to a backfield that already had LeGarrette Blount, so that's pretty good. They had a young guy, an undrafted rookie, Corey Clement, who came in here and took care of business as well. But then you looked at the rest of the team, and you saw the injuries start to go down, and it was like as they started to get injured, they started to overachieve. Underdog, overachieve. And then I look at this Phillies team, and to start the season, I don't think too many people would have been shocked to think that they were going to make the playoffs. I mean, they loaded up. If your team is spending money to go over the luxury tax and you don't expect them to make the playoffs, that looks like a pretty grim year. I expected them to make the playoffs. The way the season started, I was like, they're going to have to really make a big change if they're going to make the playoffs. And that big change, of course, was Joe Girardi. And then after that, everything clicked, and we all know the history there. I'm not going to give you that lesson one more time, but they just started to come together, and they got hot for 2 months, 3 months of the season, really cooled off September, held on, and now they're making this run that they're on right now. The last time I saw something like this, it was the Eagles. It was 2017. That team won. This team, listen to Dusty Baker's comments that he made after the Astros clinched their trip to the World Series. Dusty Baker sounds like he's got all the respect in the world for the Phillies. He understands what they bring to the table. I've heard some other people talk about how you have home runs coming left and right from this Phillies organization in the playoffs, and that is what can put you over the top, or what most likely will put you over the top, because these pitchers in this series, whether it's Zach Wheeler, whether it's Justin Verlander, whoever it might be in this series has pitching. Wow. They're not going to make many mistakes. And when they do, boy, do you have to capitalize on those mistakes. It's not going to be, you're not going to have many innings in this game where it was like the first inning against the Braves, where all of a sudden you were just getting the timely hitting. You were getting runners in scoring position. They're a good defensive team. You're not going to be getting those same kind of bloop opportunities that you got against the team like the Padres, for instance, in that game where you took the 4-0 lead and ended up blowing it, unfortunately, in game 2. You're not going to get those same opportunities here. And this is a good example, I think, of why sometimes this Astros World Series, this Phillies Astros World Series, I think will be a good example of why when we watch our teams against a lower team and when they don't beat that team as good as we think they should, why it doesn't matter about how they play that bad team. It's about how they play against that bad team and whether or not they can get away with that same type of performance against one of those better teams. You're not going to have those bloops like you had against the Padres. You're not going to have those opportunities against the Astros, unfortunately, because they're a much better team, much better defensively sound team, much better pitching team. And yeah, they got some guys that can hit a little bit. The home runs aren't nearly what they are for the Phillies in the postseason, but still, they're a fundamentally sound team that knows how to win. They don't make those mistakes. If the Phillies could somehow magically get those mistakes, take advantage of those opportunities, now they're not perfect, of course, but if the Phillies can take advantage of whatever mistakes they are going to make, they're going to be the World Series champion. I was thinking about going into the show today. I was thinking about, all right, the Phillies will win the World Series if. And really, the best answer is the most obvious one. Stay hot. And that's just not winning, because the Astros have won every game. The last time the Houston Astros lost, it was when the Phillies clinched their playoff berth. That's the last time the Houston Astros lost a game. It's when the Phillies beat them in the first game of the 3-game series, the final series of the regular season. So no one's really hotter than the Houston Astros, unfortunately. But when it comes to the offense, if Bryce Harper stays at this level, good things are going to happen.